Hello, I'm Guillaume Boissonnat. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer of Pili, and we develop and produce sustainable high-performance dyes for the textile industry using biotechnology.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Cyndi Rhoades, and I'm the CEO and founder of Worn Again Technologies. And we have developed a new technology that's able to separate, extract, decontaminate the raw materials, polyester and cellulose from cotton in end-of-use textiles.
Good morning. My name is Isabelle Laurencin. I work for Plug and Play, and I'm the director of a startup accelerator program based in Amsterdam called Fashion for Good Plug and Play, which focus is to identify new technologies and solutions which have the potential to transform the textile and apparel industry towards a more circular and sustainable model.
It works?
Hello. Hi, I'm Saba. I'm the founder and CEO of Bioglitz, and we are a plant-based biodegradable glitter company.
Okay. Short but precise. Thank you very much. First, I would like to know a little bit more about sustained fashion. Could you define sustained fashion? Maybe Isabelle?
Sure.
Sure, I'm sorry.
It's not an easy task.
Yes, I know it.
I think you've brought together in this panel quite an amazing range of solutions.
Yeah.
So allow me to maybe explain what is non-sustainable about fashion, and you talk about
it's
solutions, if that's fine with you. But very briefly, I think we all heard that the textile industry account among the most polluting industries in the world, and why is that? Is basically every single step of its production, conception, usage is basically done in a wrong way. It all starts with how we grow cotton. It uses a lot of water, of pesticides. To build a simple cotton t-shirt, it requires about 1,000 liters of water. Obviously, our garment is not only made with natural fiber, we also have the polyester. We use 70 million barrels of oil per year to produce the polyester in our garments. Obviously, the dyeing process is a huge issue. Guillaume will talk about it, but 10% of all chemicals produced in the world are used by the textile industry. Another major issue is obviously the recycling, and Cyndi will obviously talk about it. And because most of our garments are blended of natural and synthetic fibers, we are unable to segregate them at a large scale. The result is that we produce 15 billion ton of garments every year, and more than 90% end in landfills and are incinerated, leading that textile industry is now responsible for 10% of CO2 emissions. So the whole industry has to pivot the same way a startup needs to pivot. But I like also to stress that, I mean, it's okay to blame the industry that is doing everything wrong, but we need to be aware that a significant part of the impact of the industry is actually happening after we buy our garment. And how we use our garments. In average, we now use 3 times an item before it ends up in our closet or in the landfills. And we wash our clothes way too much. Leaching microfibers, which are microplastics, which is a huge issue for the industry. So altogether, we need to find alternative, sustainable solutions for every single steps of those. And now I will let the solutions speak.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we can. Okay, you could applaud. Yeah.
Yes, that's not an easy one. I think sustainability has lots of definitions.
Yes, of course.
To many different people. For me, you can't have sustainability without circularity. Circularity is another one that's very difficult to define. For me, that's about recapturing raw materials, keeping them from going to landfill, to incineration, to oceans. Isabelle was talking about some of the huge challenges, 50 million tons of textiles going to landfill every year. That's huge. And less than 1% of textiles get turned back into new textiles every year. So really, I think circularity is at the heart of it. It doesn't exist today, but the technologies in development to deal with this problem are coming. Over to you.
Yeah.
Sure. for us at Pili, we think that sustainability is about producing stuff without harming the planet. So that's our main concern. And we have had lots of discussions with many people trying sustainable dyeing solutions, and mostly plant-based dyes. And we finally understood that sustainability is not about making natural stuffs. It's about making a solution which is less polluting, but which has to be scalable, because you need a solution for the whole industry. It has to be affordable, because you need people to have to buy it. And most importantly, it has to be ISO performant, because in the sustainable, in the fashion industry globally, you need solutions that are performant. And if you are not performant, you won't replace anything within the industry. So that's the 3 pillars, I guess.
I really want to add to that point. I think that's key, the quality and the price, because sustainability, sorry, you're next, has always been associated with cost. And that's prevented it from going mainstream. So I think the new wave of innovations are all about, 1, achieving quality, and 2, achieving the price point so that it becomes a major uptake industry-wide.
Okay, for you?
I'd like to add to that. Often we think sustainability has to be more expensive, and up until recently that has been the case, but we just need to essentially transform all of our methods of production and consumption until we reach a point where the baseline is not a higher cost, because that is the norm. But for my company, a big part of our company is showing people that sustainability does not have to be less vibrant or less fun. I feel like a lot of the time when I'm telling people about our product, when I mention biodegradable or sustainability, sometimes I lose them a little bit. But we're here to show people that glitter can be sustainable, as can everything else. It just takes time and development and thought processes. But that sustainability does not have to be less vibrant, less fun, or less chic, and that sustainability, it needs to be the norm.
Okay, thank you very much. You have collaborated with startup, big company. Could you share with us best practices, maybe?
Yes, what I would say first, if you want to collaborate with a large company, first, don't be in a hurry. Take your time. Because first, it's going to take long, because they have longer processes, and it's normal for such huge companies. But also, you have to let them go to fully understand what you want to do with them. So don't collaborate because you want to show your investors that you have collaborations with big brands, but in the end, you have no products going out of those collaborations, and the brands don't want to develop a product with that. So it's very important to take your time and to think about what you want to get out of this collaboration. I guess it's the key point for us.
Okay. Isabelle, maybe?
Yeah, I think any B2B startup has the same experience. Getting a step into a big corporation is a big challenge. Speaking to the right person takes a lot of time to identify who is the right person within that corporation that can help you. And it's essentially what we try to achieve with our program, with the Fashion for Good plug-and-play program, is we bring, within 3 months, startups and the corporations that have picked them and selected them, and we make sure that during those 3 months they meet at least 6, 7 times with different people. I mean, you will never seal a deal in the first meeting, because in big corporations you often have to convince 5, 10, 15 people in addition to the board in order to just start a real concrete discussions around a pilot. So this phase needs to be accelerated, and this is what we're definitely trying to achieve in our program.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I just kind of add a point, what you said is very important. Think of who you're talking with. It's not the same to talk to a purchasing manager, to an innovation manager, and to an R&D innovation manager. And you have to understand, I say it in a raw way, but who pays their bonus and what for? Because if you talk to somebody whose job in the industry is to source innovation, and to somebody whose job in the industry is to lower the costs of the global purchasing of the brand, it's not the same issue that you're going to tackle together. So you have to figure that out.
Okay. Something to add?
Yeah, I would say that collaboration is one of the most important things for sustainability and bringing the different industries together and connecting the solutions. I've been stuck looking at glitter for the past 5 years. Had it not been for Fashion for Good Accelerator program, I wouldn't know about many of the solutions that are out there today. But without collaboration, we really can't progress forward. We need the larger companies to help get the visibility out there for the solutions that the innovators are coming up with, and vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah, I think collaboration for us has been key in two areas. One around finance raising. When we set out over 7 years ago to develop this technology, which on average takes about 10 years to go from lab scale to industrial first plant, which is a long runway. Most VCs aren't interested in financing something with that much of a runway. So we had to be really creative about it. We asked ourselves, whose problem are we solving? And it's the brands, it's the retailers, it's the guys who are producing the stuff. And so we approached H&M and Kering very early on in our developments, and which was hugely beneficial to get us off the ground. And then when that money ran out, we had to go and look for other partners to bring on board. So it was really about identifying the strategic partners who can help make it happen. That's very key. So now we have our chemical engineering partner, other supply chain partners in Mexico, Miroslava Duma, and her fashion technology fund also. So finance is key. Also for circularity, no one company, no one technology can achieve it on their own. We need the big brands out there talking about it, educating consumers. We need consumers taking their textiles back, recycling them. Everyone plays a part in that supply chain. And then underpinning all of that on collaboration has been the Fashion for Goods of this world. I've got a list of them, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, all of these platforms that are supporting the industry and the different players coming together, Cradle to Cradle, Textile Exchange, and Circle Economy in Netherlands. They've all been key, along with the big brands.
Okay, thank you. Today, everybody is talking about sustainability. Could you explain us what is the specificities, the singularity of the fashion industry and of the beauty industry? Tricky question? Yeah, tricky, sorry.
I can give it a shot.
Okay.
I think what is quite specific for the textile industry is that first, there were not so many innovations done in the past 50 years. So the industry is late. It's a huge industry. It's extremely atomized. The supply chains are extremely complex to the point that brands themselves do not master their own supply chain. Traceability is a huge issue just in order to identify where the clothes were made. So all of this, trying to support innovation in that context where there is very little alignment of interests between the brands, the consumers, the manufacturers, the farmers growing the cotton. It's a huge challenge that will take probably some time, while in the same time the urgency is there, because if we don't do anything and we leave it that way, the impact is going to increase of 60% in the next 10 years. So this is the challenge of specific to the textile industry.
Okay, Guillaume, maybe something to...
Yes, I would mostly add to what you say. It's mostly the same. The atomization is very important.
Okay.
The idea for us as a dye company is that the people who are interested in the innovations that we propose, sustainable dyes, are not the one who destroy our products. So basically, most textile brands do not dye their own garments. They subcontract the dyeing to other companies who are way less interested in sustainability. So you have to find a way to explain to industrial dye houses, mostly in India, who haven't spent a lot of money on innovations for years, that you're gonna provide them with a product which has to be in the same price and as performant, and that they are going to be able to market it to brands. And you have to talk with brands when you want to start a pilot with brands. You won't use the products directly with the brands, but with their subcontractors. So I think that's one very important complexity in the fashion industry.
Okay, thank you. And for the beauty?
For beauty, corporate responsibility is a big one. There's a lot of chemicals in cosmetics that we're not told are in there and kind of shuffled under the rug. But I would say corporate responsibility is the first thing when it comes to cosmetics, companies being held accountable. And finally, I'd say people are starting to check what's in their cosmetics as they are their dyes, their clothing. But absolutely, I think it's up to the companies manufacturing, L'Oreal, these large cosmetic companies, to be more cautious about what they put in and more transparent. We have transparency coming about in the fashion industry, but really none whatsoever when it comes to cosmetics. And the cosmetic industry is one of the leading industries in use of plastics when it comes to packaging, and actually plastics in cosmetics as well, whether that's microplastics or other plastics. Yes, what was the question?
The specificity of the beauty industry.
Good.
Okay, that's all? Okay, thank you very much. I would like to know more about your vision of the future of sustained fashion. That will happen in 5 or 10 years. What's your opinion? Okay, don't be sad.
That the fashion industry in the future, it's not sustainable fashion, it is just fashion, because that should be the norm.
You're right. Okay, good point. Yeah?
Yes, so the future of fashion, for me it's all about resources. For the industry, it's about resources. We have to find better ways of recapturing them and putting them back in the system. Banging the drum about circularity. I mean, there's actually enough polyester. We're going to be running out of oil someday in the future. We have enough polyester in circulation today in the form of clothing, of PET bottles, which could actually supply our annual demand for polyester. All we need to do is recapture it, recycle it efficiently, bring it back up to virgin equivalent quality, keep it from going into the rivers and the oceans. So it's all about a new way of resource use.
Yeah, I think what has to change, and so should probably change, is the energy supply, which is very important within the industry. And so we have to produce garments and textile with less energy. I think the toxic chemicals and the toxic discharge of chemicals in waters. So maybe you've seen these images of blue dogs in India because they've been drinking the water out of the dye houses. So this is also really important, and the recycling of the raw materials. And at Pili, we believe in enzymes, which can produce chemicals at room temperature. So I think it's going to be a key point in the development of a more sustainable fashion industry.
Okay, Isabelle?
Yeah, I'll repeat what I've heard, but circular fashion is definitely the future of fashion, and that does not imply only recycling. It starts at the design phase, and when we decide to use the resources in order to anticipate how we don't call it end of use, but reuse or recycling of the garments will re-enter the cycle. Yeah, I think it's the future is what is tricky is that we say sustainability shouldn't come as a cost, and the most solutions we look at should be at parity. But what we have to understand is the garments we pay today do not represent the true cost of garments, because in most countries there are still non-fair wages for workers, because the textile industry doesn't take care of depolluting its waters when they pollute. So inevitably, I think the cost of garment will increase because we need to buy less but better, and we need to pay the true cost of garments. And this is not only about sustainability, it's about just integrating all the externalities of that the complex supply chain that for now has been completely neglected.
Okay, thank you very much. It reminds us 5 minutes. Maybe we can interact with the audience if you have time, if you agree. Okay, you agree? Yeah, we have time? A microphone with the audience? Yeah. A lot of questions, I was sure. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. We're a San Francisco fashion startup, and I have a question mainly for Cyndi, but it's about closing the loop. We've done research for the past few months. We have an environmental lab and all that. Problem is, we're doing the dyes right now. We got our compostable clothes. We have our biodegradable section, like, taking care of all that. And then we're now taking plastics from the ocean and beautiful, making shoes, got all that. That looks great. But now we're at the very end, trying to get the bags for the consumer to send us this stuff. And that's our struggle. How do we go back to the regenerate point one to, close the loop? And our team has been in touch with Econile, so many other people, and nobody is doing it right now. So to have a better picture of this, is this coming in the next 5 years? Where are you in the research? Can you please clarify and kind of tell us more?
No, it's a good question. I think it's really tricky because when we talk about circularity, the kind of future that I see and hope to see, and I know will come, is where all of our new textiles are made from existing textile resources. How do we get there? That's long off in the future. To get there, it's going to require technologies like ours and others in development to go to scale. It's going to require widespread infrastructure investment, new processing, very focused attention on collection systems. In the US, you're collecting, I think generating about 15 million tons of textile waste, but only 2 million tons are being collected every year. So on every aspect, there's a huge amount of work to be done. But as soon as you have processes like ours up and running, and it's in the coming years, we're getting much closer, we're optimizing the process and we're scaling it. But it is a massive feat to try and untangle how textiles are made. I mean, we just receive textiles from anywhere in the world. You don't know what's in it, where it comes from, and we have to backwards engineer it to then recapture the raw materials. So it's not an easy technology to do, but once it's ready, it will unlock really the door for everything. But it's a few years off still.
Perfect. Another question? A lot of questions.
Hi, this is for Miss Glitter. First of all, we want to know what you're wearing, but and then also, is it only glitter, or are you also in sequins, and how does it work?
That's a great question. We're actually currently working on our
First, what are you wearing?
Okay. I actually got this at a thrift store in Kentucky about a week ago for $4. So,
Okay.
very designer.
Yeah, impressive.
But your question. We actually are embarking on our next development, which is biodegradable sequins, but we're working on a new formula, and this one will be based from recycling methane gas, and we'll be repurposing that into the film. So instead of harvesting virgin cellulose, which is better than polyester, but still, we do have to harvest the plants, so it takes some energy, water, etc. Instead of using plant cellulose, we're switching to a new film. We're partnering with this company called Mango Materials, based out of the Bay Area. And we will actually be recycling methane gas and converting that into the film of our biosequins. But we're still in the developmental stages. We're just in about round 1 of prototyping, so we're about 2 years out from being ready to scale that. But yes, sequins is actually our current focus and exciting next endeavor.
In theory, you should be able to take the cellulose that we recapture from textiles.
I was thinking about
we can
this,
sell
yes.
that to you in the
But
future.
you're still a few years out
Lots
too,
of
so
glitter. I can't wait.
collaboration. Perfect.
All the time. Okay. One question.
the
The last one.
Thanks. My question is just around recycled plastic into textiles. Do you think if we become really dependent on... Oh, sorry, I'm just over here. Hey.
Yeah, too far.
If we become really dependent on textiles involving plastic in any form, do you imagine we may come into a lot of unintended consequences around microfibers being released through washing? And would it be better to simply take the plastics out of our supply chain when we have the chance?
I suppose that's for me. Yeah, I mean, that is an ethical debate. I think the challenge is that polyester is the most highest volume used fiber in the industry. It's overtaken the use of cotton, so it's there. To try and kind of ban it or stop using it, I think is really unrealistic because it goes into textiles quite well. So I don't think that's going to change, but what we do need to start looking at, and there's a lot of research being done and a lot of innovation around the challenge of microfibers. So we need to focus on how we can prevent them from leaving our washing machines, going into the rivers and the oceans. I think that's key.